Welcome to the news and why it matters. I am Sarah Gonzalez, joined today by Mr. Pat Gray from Pat Gray Unleashed, Mr. Chad Prather from the Chad Prather Show. What is it? Humor Me?
Humor Me.
And the Chad Prather Show.
You got it.
And Josh Hammer, special guest Josh Hammer from the Daily Wire.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much for being here. All right, I think we are all in agreement here at the table that the top story of the day is obviously Robert Francis O'Rourke. I almost said it. I almost said the wrong name. Robert Francis O'Rourke and his big announcement. Let's watch a quick clip of that.
Amy and I are happy to share with you that I'm running to serve you as the next president of the United States of America. This is a defining moment of truth for this country and for every single one of us. The challenges that we face right now, the interconnected crises in our economy, our democracy, and our climate have never been greater, and they will either consume us or they will afford us the greatest opportunity to unleash the genius of the United States of America. In other words, this moment of peril produces perhaps the greatest moment of promise for this country and for everyone inside of it.
Lots to unpack there. First, we want to thank our sponsor, Mercury Real Estate. So Glenn decided that apparently the best way to find a realtor is not to find the guy who is on the bench that you sit your rear end on. Who knew? Who knew that that was not actually the best way to find a real estate agent? So his team actually they vet all of these real estate agents all over the country to make sure that this is what they do full time. This is their expertise. They know the area that they're working in. And so they've done the work so that you don't have to. So if you're looking to buy or sell your home, or let's talk about if you're moving across the country. Josh, you just said that you're about to do that soon.
I am.
Right.
Yeah.
So that in that case, you have no idea what area to look for. You don't know the values of the neighborhoods, of your neighbors. You don't know that. So if you're moving across the country, especially, realestateagentsitrust.com, you're really going to want to use one of those real estate agents. They know it. You don't. Trust them. Glenn's already vetted them for you. Go to realestateagentsitrust.com. So Betto. Oh, man. I'm so glad. He was born to do this, Pat.
Yeah, well, that's what he said. Man, I was born to do this.
That is poetic.
It's powerful. It's powerful. Makes me want to vote for him. The first thing I wanted to unpack was the fact that is there a single Democrat who knows this country is not a democracy? Our democracy isn't broken because we don't have one. This is not a democracy. You don't need to fix it. So that said, he's kind of scary because he's this cult of personality like Obama was, and people seem to go crazy for him wherever he goes, and there's really no reason for it. Why? I mean, because he can skateboard in a Whataburger parking lot? Is that to me, that doesn't qualify him to be president of the United States.
Are you sure?
Surprising, but yeah, I'd like to see some policies. Now, they do say that he is more moderate than just about anybody else in this field, especially without Biden in the field. He claimed in the article that was written about his announcement that he's a capitalist. And he's, as far as I know, he's the only candidate so far in the Democrat field that has said he is a capitalist. So at least there's that. But he's what, the 63rd person in the race for them?
Thought it was 102.
It's a lot. It's a lot.
I want to say right here on the news and why it matters, I'm going to look straight into this camera as I say it, that I am now running for
It's got to be bigger.
president
Bigger.
of the United States. You got to be bigger with the hand.
Yeah.
I'm joining the Democratic Party just so I can run. Just so, his wife looked like she's been slapped a little, he's the hand's gotten out of the way and pow.
The flailing arm syndrome has affected this woman clearly.
Yeah.
Clearly.
It's crazy. So Bob Frank O'Rourke married a rich lady. He was a congressperson who accomplished nothing. He's a city councilman, isn't that right? So here's a guy who, like Obama, at least with 2 years as senator, had a little bit more experience. This guy's done nothing. He's going to throw his hat in the ring, but he's cool. Let's face it, when he enters the room, as the reporter said the other day, the room shakes. This guy's...
It's like Chris Matthews had a
thrill
up my leg.
And so here's a guy, this Democratic Party of Diversity has chosen a tall, white frat boy with floppy hair that can skateboard. It's so much for the the racial divide that we've seen in this country. So I just compiled a little list of Democratic fakes, okay? We have a fake black person, Rachel Dolezal. We got a fake victim, Jussie Smollett. We got fake civil rights leader, Shaun King. We got fake news, CNN. We got a fake Indian, Elizabeth Warren. And now we have a fake Mexican that calls himself Beto. The list could go on.
That's great, Josh.
Yeah, I mean, I look at that video and like, not to punch too far below the belt, but my first take is his wife does not believe anything that her husband is saying.
Absolutely not.
Yeah, I mean,
And how weird was it to just have her there the entire time staring at him? She didn't add any value
Nothing
to the video.
whatsoever.
It was
Yeah.
bizarre.
Yeah, and
very awkward.
Yeah, and she's not looking particularly longingly or admiringly.
No.
She's kind of just like sitting there very awkwardly. So if she can't even believe what her husband is saying, how are the American people? And I actually have a lot of friends on the left, Sarah, and all my friends, like unanimously, who are of that persuasion, don't believe a damn thing that comes out of Robert Francis O'Rourke's mouth. They don't know like where the heck he is on any issue. He's a chameleon to them. And it's just impossible for me to see what niche, what lane of the Democratic primary electorate he possibly fulfills. If he's trying to go centrist, you probably have Biden. If you want to go hard to the Marxist economic left, you've got Bernie, and you've got Liz Warren for that matter too, if she can get over this, Cherokee Gate kind of thing, which she probably won't.
No,
but,
I don't think so.
if she's trying to go identity politics, or he's trying to go identity politics, you got Cory Booker, you got Kamala Harris. I mean, there's just no lane for O'Rourke to go into. So honestly, I think this is a vanity run. It's trying to appease those kind of pearl-clutching New York Times reading liberals on the Upper West Side of Manhattan. I mean, it's trying to make skateboarding great again, maybe. I mean, he's trying to make DWIs great again. I mean, like, he brings nothing to the table. Like, he was literally a legislative backbencher for 6 years in the U.S. House, did absolutely nothing. He was one of 10 congressmen to vote against Iron Dome funding in Israel. He was one of the most anti-Israel congressmen in the entire U.S. House, which Ted Cruz talked about on the campaign trail all the time in the Senate race. He has accomplished nothing, and I just don't understand what he's doing this for.
Well, he lost a Senate race.
There you go.
So there's that too. So don't
Big
forget
resume
that.
item, yeah.
I mean, I do agree with your assessment that, he seems to be this chameleon because, as you pointed out, Pat, he's saying that he's a capitalist, but the ideas that he's been advocating for, not so capitalist. So it makes me question, does he think that he can just capture the people who have not gone so far over the edge that they're socialists yet? I mean, I don't know. But again, if Biden's in the race, that changes everything.
Yeah, no, totally. I mean, Biden will probably enter. I think Biden has a lot of his own baggage. I mean, it's pretty much impossible to see how Joe Biden survives the Me Too moment, right? I mean, everyone has seen the clips of him over the years.
Creepy Uncle Joe?
Creepy Uncle Joe. I mean,
groping young girls?
And groping is the operative word, okay? It's not just like flirtatiousness. This is like full-on like groping. So it's pretty much impossible for me to see. And then he has some substantive baggage too. Joe Biden used to be like a hard-on-crime kind of guy. I mean, the First Step Act that the president supported and just passed with a large bipartisan majority, the old Joe Biden of the 90s would have been a hard vote against that. He was like a real tough on crime guy. He's had some kind of racially fringy comments that you could see the Intersectional Coalition kind of digging up as well. So I don't see Biden going anywhere, but he at least has this capitalist credential to the extent any of them can have a credential. I mean, it's kind of like being the tallest dwarf or small person, whatever the politically correct term is. I mean, it's not really saying much, but like he's like allegedly of a capitalist persuasion. So it's not really clear to me to see how Bobby F, if we're calling him, Bobby F. O'Rourke can kind of even out capitalists.
Bob Frank.
Yeah, exactly.
Bobby Frankie O'Rourke.
I have to disagree on the racially fringe stuff with Joe Biden. He said he'd found a clean, articulate African-American guy who was good looking, and that was a storybook. Yeah. But he found one. So I think that was pretty powerful, pretty big endorsement of black people from Joe. So I don't know how he survived that in 2008. Yeah. I mean, how do you survive that? And to wind up the guy's running mate. It's amazing.
Well, I mean, because again, to your point, it seems to be that it's just the conservatives who get all of these things dug up about them and actually suffer consequences, right? I mean, you have Kevin Hart, who originally there was fallout, but then they begged him to come back. And then you have, Jussie Smollett, who made something up, and they're still waving his flag. So it seems like he may be able to go onto the stage unscathed, just because that's just what the left does for their own. But I will say, did you guys read the Rolling Stone interview, I guess you would call it, or was it Vanity Fair on Betto O'Rourke that came out?
I think it was Vanity Fair. Yeah.
Vanity Fair. Mm-hmm. So it was interesting. He said that one of his greatest drawback was that he is a white man. To your point, Sean, it's that he's a white man, and that he thinks that everyone's just tired of seeing white men rule this country, and that's just going to be something that he's going to have to overcome. And the way he will overcome it, you guys, is that he is going to make sure that he puts in his, in his cabinet, in his administration, people who are just like America.
He should do blackface. Let's see how that goes over. Look, he's a liar. What do I mean? In 2018, he gave a very public interview where he said, I will not run, I will not do it. If I run for president, we have 2 small children. After everything we've been through, my family will not withstand a presidential run. Now he comes out and he says, I'm going to run. What changed his mind? Well, probably everybody whispering in his ear that he's God and that he could do it. And this became a fame thing. Look, Barack Obama did not run because Barack Obama wanted to be a celebrity. Period. We've seen that through everybody through his White House parties, everybody he invited in, all of his rhetoric. Now he's working with Netflix doing these things. He was a, late night talk show guy that jumps on there, and Michelle was no different. Beto O'Rourke is the same thing. He's heard too many whispers in his ear that have said, you can be great, you can be great, you can be great. So this is pure vanity on parade.
Well, I mean, I also, in that same article, it talked about, he was discussing it with his young son, and his son said, I don't want you to run for president. I'll cry all day. And Beto said, you just the one day? And he was like, no, every day I'll cry. I'm like, that's actually really cruel to joke with him about it. The kid is obviously very upset that his dad has not been around, doesn't want his dad to run. And instead of, like you said, he already announced that he was not going to run because his family was more important. Now we're seeing apparently his family is not important enough for him to not run and to not have that godlike complex.
And I've got to agree with what you said. She doesn't believe what he's saying. If you read the body language, I mean, she starts out like they're about to announce to their family they're having a baby. She's so, I can't stand it. And then all of a sudden when he gets to talking, she's down to the grin. She's like, a very forced smile there. You can read the body language. She's not enthused at all about this.
Yeah. But I mean, again, what does it say about how he feels about his kids?
Yeah.
Like, to me, that's not a good look. That's not a good look. If I see this guy and he's in the interview, we learned that his dad, there's her grin. We learned that she has been beat before by those hands, I'm telling you.
Those hands will get away from you.
We learned that, his son is very upset. That's not a really good dad move. And then later on in the article, he actually drops an F-bomb.
Traffic incident.
Yes,
right? Yeah.
while he's driving. He drops an F-bomb, which is like, okay, we've already learned your what happens when you are in traffic, Beto. So you probably want to be on your best behavior when you're being interviewed. He darts out into traffic and apparently says MFers to the other cars, and then turns around and is like, oh, sorry, kids. He's dropping F-bombs in front of his kids. This is not the wholesome man that he's portraying himself to be.
More generally, I feel like Robert Francis is kind of on the cutting edge of trying to normalize F-bombs and just general cussing in this country.
Yeah, because he made one in his concession speech,
He did make one in the concession speech. I feel like he did on the stump on the campaign trail all the time, though. I actually have a huge issue with this. Like, I'm not a prude. Like, I watch Radar movies. I actually cuss quite a bit in my private life. I'm also not running for U.S. Senate, okay?
Right.
Like, there's a huge difference between kind of like cussing amongst like your friends at the bar. Yeah, no, like I literally do that all the time. But like, if you're on the public stage on national television, you should hold yourself to a higher standard.
Well, they always say that with Trump, right? I mean, he calls someone a moron, and they're like, he should have more decorum than that.
Yeah.
What about this? Why does he get a pass? Why does Beto get a pass?
Yeah.
All right, we're going to take a break, and then we're going to get into the 2020 candidates and what that field looks like when we come back. Okay, guys, now I want to get into the 2020 Democratic field. We're going to see how he does that all the time.
Let's just put our heads together. It'll sound like a bowling alley.
It feels so unnatural to do.
And then you got to get sweaty, too. You sweat through your clothing.
Yeah, he is sweaty.
He's very sweaty.
I saw Stu tweet it out today that he wants Trump to use the nickname Sweaty Beto. I like it.
You just call him Sweato.
Sweat.
Sweato's good.
See, that's why I one up Stu all the time.
You've got to get that into their hands.
Yeah, exactly.
Sweato.
That's gold. That's gold.
Sweato O'Rourke.
You heard it here
Okay,
first.
so you're seeing my new hoodie. We're going to get Sweato hoodies. That's what we're going to do.
Oh my
We're going to
gosh.
get Sweato clothing.
Robert Francis, aka Sweato.
Only here on the News and Why It Matters.
Why'd I say that publicly? We're doing Sweato.
Okay, but Josh, you just wrote a piece at the Daily Wire on the 2020 Democratic field. What are your thoughts on it?
Yeah, so back in 2016, I'll back it up a little bit. I saw each party kind of having three separate wings. On the Republican side, what I saw was kind of the traditional business Wall Street Journal establishment, like the Mike Lee, Ted Cruz style conservative, and then it's kind of ascendant national populist wing. On the Democratic side, you kind of had the Clintonian establishment. And then on like the far progressive left, I actually saw two separate groups. You have kind of the economic justice oriented, basically Marxists, right? I mean, Bernie Sanders, Liz Warren, let's call them what they are, they're Marxists. People who are focused on class warfare, 80% tax rates, pilfering the rich, Green New Deal, all that stuff. And then you have kind of like the Obama identity politics coalition, right? The coalition of basically aggrieved interest groups, kind of the finding various groups, divide and conquer identitarian warfare, for lack of a better term. So I think in 2020, the Clintonian establishment, for what I can tell, is basically dead. Okay?
Oh, yeah.
This is a political party, the Democratic Party, that refuses to condemn actual post-birth infanticide. It's ridiculous that, by the way, the post-birth is even necessary there. But
Right.
actual infanticide, they are watering down multiple times a basic condemnation of Jew hatred from an openly anti-Semitic member of Congress. This is a crazy freaking party. We have gone a long, long way from the 1990s, safe, legal, and rare, capital gains, tax cuts, all that stuff from the Clintonian 1990s. So I see it going in 2020 on their side to an ultimate kind of bifurcated primary between the economic justice wing and the intersectionality wing. And I think Bernie has a real grip on the economic justice wing. I don't really see anyone who's truly going to compete there. Liz Warren's the closest one, but it's pretty much impossible to take her seriously after the whole 1,024th Cherokee thing, right? So that's not going to happen. And then within the other wing,
Let's be fair. It was impossible to take her seriously.
Yeah, okay, fair
before
enough.
that came out.
Fair enough, yeah.
But I see your point.
yeah, I mean, she's less likable than, I fill in whatever adjective you want. I mean, like, yeah, so Bernie's got a lock on that. Then you look at the identitarian wing. Who is it? It's Kamala Harris and Cory Booker. But during the whole Kavanaugh fiasco, when they were both on Senate Judiciary Committee, I was talking to a lot of my law school friends at the time, and what I was saying was, the thing about Cory Booker is he's actually not a crazy person. If you look back to his history, he used to support like school choice when he was Newark mayor. He was like fairly pro-Israel. He comes from like a somewhat moderate, somewhat business-friendly background. He's a smart guy, like Yale Law School. I think he was like a Rhodes Scholar at Oxford or something like that. So the thing about Cory Booker is that I think Cory Booker is actually too smart to pretend to be as crazy as he needs to be to capture that wing.
God, that's sad.
Kamala Harris, I just don't see it. I she's not on Cory Booker's intelligence level, and she's also more willing to pander. So I think she's got a lot of momentum there. So I see it's coming down to Bernie representing the Marxists and Kamala representing the identity politics coalition. And at that point, the Democratic Party, I just see having a big old battle royale, a big free-for-all between what do we value more? Do we value Orwellian economic class warfare, or do we value Orwellian identitarian racial warfare?
Right.
That's how I see it.
What did he even say? I don't even. Big words. Big words. Kamala doesn't have. Here, let me break it down. Kamala doesn't have anyone that she can sleep with to get to that next level. So see that she's out. That's out. Her MO's gone. Cory Booker, he's developed the crazy eyes. People can't hear what he's saying because, like Beto with the hands, he's got the crazy eyes. Just so. It's going to be a circular firing squad is what we're going to see. They're going to devour each other because they have to, because the left is now, like you said, gone are the days of good old-fashioned liberals, good old-fashioned Democrats. The folks that lived in Alabama, we'll always vote Democrat. Well, this is way off the chain. This is socialist Marxism. It's crazy if you just listen to it long enough. We're in 1959 Cuba with this rhetoric going on. People really need to wake up to this thing because it's dangerous. They are on this all-out mission to out-left one another. They want to out-radicalize each other. So a guy like Cory Booker, he can't come in and say, hey, I'm a sensible guy that wants to make... No, he's got to come up with something off the wall. So now you have three of those candidates that are saying, well, we're losing the black vote. Let's do reparations. Let's buy them back. So it's that age-old Democrat tactic of slavery. We're going to buy black people again. This is ridiculous. If you break that down and you look at it, this is what we're up against with this thing. And the problem, and that's why Nancy Pelosi comes in and all these others that say we want to lower the voting age to 16 because the less skin you have in the game and the more ignorant and undeveloped your brain is, you're going to look at those things and say, oh, that makes sense. Well, look, I ran for class president in the 8th grade, and I lost to a kid who promised he was going to put Coke machines in the hallways and that you could have your choice in school lunches. I lost because he made promises that he couldn't deliver on. But hey, kids don't realize that.
Yeah.
Free stuff sells.
Free stuff sells.
Pat, you want to jump in here and weigh in on
Yeah, it's going to be 2020 is going to be an interesting time and show how far left the country has gone. Has it gone? If it's gone as far left as the Democrats have, we're done. I mean, we are done as a country. Yeah. As you said, they brought reparations back. They used to be laughed off the stage if they brought up reparations. Nobody was for reparations. Nobody's serious. Jesse Jackson, Al Sharpton, they were the reparations people. Now you're hearing it from 5 of the candidates. The Green New Deal, something so extreme and radical that it might cost $100 trillion.
Which, by the way, Beto said that he thinks the Green New Deal is a great idea. So it's interesting.
I mean, that's unbelievable.
Capitalist guy
That's
saying that's
Which
a
let me
good
add to my
idea.
list. Now we got a fake economist in Ocasio-Cortez.
Yes.
Who's hanging out with a fake scientist.
Bill Nye the Science
Nye.
Guy.
Nice.
Right.
Yes.
So many fakes.
Yes. Sorry, I didn't mean to.
And, you know, they want to end ICE. They want to open borders. I mean, if America votes for a Democrat in 2020, I really feel and fear for our country's future.
Well, that's
it's
why
over.
I know that, Glenn keeps saying it's going to probably come down to the economy and what the economy is doing at that particular moment. But I even still think, if that group of people standing up on that stage is what the American people have to choose from, they
Heaven
would
help us.
still, I would like to hope they would still choose Trump just because, again, it's like, okay, I can have Trump or I can have Crazy Town.
Yeah.
Or I can have Venezuela,
Right.
in 10 years.
Right.
I would hope that would be the case.
Now, to that regard, we have Trump to blame for what we're seeing here because Trump changed the game on how politics is going to be done and how elections are going to be determined because he came in and was so anti-establishment and went so far off the rails with the way he communicated and the things he said. I think the
But it
left has
worked.
taken a bit out of that playbook and said, you know what, we're just going to out-crazy each other and we're just going to come in
Yup.
here. And I think that's what it's, whoever's the loudest wheel is going to
Yeah,
get
but here's the
drinks.
difference that I see it. So Trump's craziness was he's not of the people by his background, his biography, but his craziness was just trying to appeal to those people, right? The Rust Belt, kind of River Valley people in Middle America who weren't being heard by either party. The crazies on the left are not appealing to anything remotely similar to that, right? They're appealing to the campus radicals, like what I call the mini Robespierres, tearing up university campuses all across America right now. People are just shouting down speakers left and right. They're literally just totalitarians is what these little people are. So they're appealing to them, right? And just in terms of numbers, maybe I'm too optimistic about this, I don't see that being nearly as big a percentage of the American electorate as the people that Trump was voting for, the deplorables. But I could be wrong.
Yeah.
No, I hope you're right.
I think you're right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, back in a minute.
That's good stuff.
San Francisco.
Yeah.
Chad,
Yeah.
I love your
You like
outfit.
that?
Yes.
Yeah, I got together with my
unapologetic
my buddies at 9 Line Apparel. We came out with this idea a couple of weeks ago, and then we just launched this thing, Unapologetic Patriot, because I think it says it all. So we're pushing them.
Well, where can they find them?
You can get them at 9 Line Apparel. You can go to 9line.com.
And then Josh, you are editor-at-large of The Daily Wire. Once again, where can people find you?
Twitter, Josh_Hammer, or Daily Wire. My author byline's right there as well.
And you just wrote that piece on the 2020 field. It is up at thedailywire.com.
Yep, as of like 2 hours ago.
Okay, perfect. So you can find him there. And those of you who already have Blaze TV, we like to call it the cool crowd, you can tune in to Overtime next. We've got much more to come, so stay tuned.